My child, come closer, because before your thoughts could even find words, I have already felt the weight resting on your chest. Nothing you have lived has been lost in the shadows. I have seen your nights when faith felt like a fragile thread, almost breaking, yet you remained there searching for my breath through silences that seemed endless. Allow me to speak to you now with a clarity that cuts through every fog. Your promise is not distant. It is drawing near with a precision your heart cannot yet understand. There have been moments when you thought heaven was still, as if your prayers had disappeared into the void. But while your tears were falling, my hand was already moving pieces your eyes could not detect. What seemed stuck was being recalibrated. What seemed delayed was being shaped. I do not work in haste. I work with purpose. And every second that felt empty was carrying a hidden instruction, preparing you for what is coming. Listen with your whole soul. You have not been waiting only for a miracle. The miracle has been waiting for you. There are blessings that cannot arrive to a weary heart, for they would break in its hands. That is why I have strengthened parts of you that you didn't even know were fragile. I have redirected paths you once thought were setbacks, when in truth they were sacred detours, protecting you from wounds you cannot yet see. Every door that didn't open was shielding something that belongs to you, but still needed time to mature. My child, as you step into this word, feel my presence stretching around you like a warm mantle. You are not walking into the future alone, you are being carried. And what I carry, I sustain. What I begin, I complete. What I promise, I fulfill, not by the rhythm of men, but with the precision of heaven. The atmosphere is shifting, even if your emotions are slow to notice. Invisible movements are aligning, a chain of timing, hearts, and opportunities that I am weaving together with authority, fire, and truth that does not delay. It is not your strength that opens what's coming. It is my faithfulness. And you are about to see that even what you called silence was alive with my activity. My child, listen a little longer, because what I am about to reveal will open the path for what comes next. My child, I see the heaviness you try to hide, even from yourself, the quiet pain behind your smile, the long silence between prayers. I know it all. Every breath you've taken under the weight of what feels invisible has reached my heart. Nothing that burdens you has been forgotten. The weight you carry is not punishment, it's preparation. There are battles that taught you to move slowly but steadily. The world may think you've stopped, but I know you've been forged in the fire of waiting. The tears you thought were weakness have watered the roots of your faith. Faith grows quietly, deep beneath the surface, nourished by tears the heavens never ignore. Not one drop has been wasted. I've caught them all. When the silence stretches too long and you start to wonder if I still speak, remember this. My silence is not absence, it's sculpture. It's how I carve patience into your spirit. Even now, while you think nothing is changing, I am aligning moments, peoples and doors in ways your eyes can't yet see. Heaven has been busy while you've been still. I'm not asking you to be perfectly strong. I'm asking you to surrender, because when you release control, I can raise what was buried. There are days when your strength feels like smoke in the wind, but even there, I am within that weakness, turning the weight into wisdom. What feels heavy today will become your authority tomorrow. You will speak with fire about what once broke you, and others will see that nothing was wasted. Let me breathe inside your exhaustion. Let me show you that what feels delayed is actually being designed. You are not broken. You are being shaped for something sacred. Waiting isn't the end, it's the womb of transformation. My child, hold this close. There is no wasted moment in the life of one who trusts me. The faith that feels small is still working wonders in places unseen. And while I prepare the promise that's coming, I'm preparing you to carry it. My child, look back for a moment, not with regret, but with revelation. Every step you thought was meaningless was a thread in the design I've been weaving around your life. The tears, the pauses, the prayers that felt like whispers into emptiness. They were seeds, not silence. Nothing I've asked you to carry has been wasted, and not one season has been without purpose. Even your waiting has been holy ground. When you thought you were standing still, You were actually being positioned. I was anchoring you so that when the winds of change came, you would not break but stand firm. I was building weight inside your spirit, the kind of strength that doesn't shout, but holds steady when everything shakes. That's why the pressure has been so specific. It wasn't random pain, it was precise preparation. You've prayed for breakthroughs, but I've been shaping the heart that will carry them. I've taught you to recognize me not only in victory, but in the quiet in between, because true faith doesn't bloom under comfort. It blooms under trust. I've seen the moments when you nearly gave up, when hope felt like smoke slipping through your fingers. Yet here you are, still breathing, still believing. That's not weakness, that's endurance shaped by grace. I know you've asked, why does it take so long? Because, my child, I'm not only preparing your promise, I'm preparing your perception. I'm teaching you to see as heaven sees, so that when the promise arrives, you'll recognize it not by appearance, but by presence. Every delay has been a divine disguise, timing working in your favor. The silence has been the sound of me building foundations too deep for you to hear. And soon, the weight you've carried will become the authority you walk in. You will speak healing where you once hurt. You will lift others with the same strength that once lifted you. You will understand why I couldn't let you skip the process, because the process is what made you unshakable. So breathe, beloved. Let your heart rest. What I have begun in you is already in motion, and the promise that felt far is now drawing near. You are standing at the edge of my fulfillment. Hold steady. What once pressed you down is now the platform from which you will rise. If this word touched you, share in the comments what part spoke to your heart. Your story might be the confirmation someone else is praying for. There are seasons when prayer feels like talking to the wind, when words leave your lips and disappear into the silence. You've waited for movement, for proof that I was listening, and yet the sky seemed still. The stillness grew heavy, almost cruel, and you began to wonder if your voice mattered anymore. But listen closely. Silence is not abandonment. It's the sacred space where I do my deepest work. What feels unanswered is not ignored. I've heard every word before it was spoken, every ache before it turned into language. The sound of your longing reached me long before your voice did. Heaven has been moving since the first moment you called. While you've been waiting for evidence, I've been weaving outcomes, aligning hearts, adjusting seasons, and protecting you from what would have broken you if it came too soon. I do not delay without reason. I delay with design. Sometimes the very thing you prayed for had to be reshaped, not because your faith was wrong, but because my plan was better. I've watched you wrestle with time, measuring my silence as distance, and yet I was standing beside you, closer than your own heartbeat, guarding the answer until your spirit could carry it. The distance you felt was never real. It was the veil between your understanding and my timing. I know what it's like for you to cry in the dark, wondering if the heavens have closed their doors. But child, the heavens are never closed. They're just working quietly. I've seen how you looked for flashes of lightning, a sign that I was near, but I chose to come in stillness so you'd learn to recognize me beyond emotion. If I spoke too loudly, you might follow the sound instead of the truth. You've prayed for me to move mountains, but sometimes I chose to move you instead. Closer to faith, closer to peace, closer to who you were meant to become. Each prayer has been a conversation, even when you only heard your own voice. Every unanswered moment has been shaping your discernment, teaching you to feel my nearness, not through noise but through knowing. And what you thought was delay was actually alignment. I've been adjusting timelines, shifting hearts, softening places that needed to open before your promise could find a home. I've been protecting what you couldn't see, waiting for the moment when blessing would no longer burden you. You see delay. I see maturity. You see silence. I see completion in progress. Don't confuse stillness with absence. Don't measure my presence by what you can sense. While you've been waiting, heaven has been building, quietly, precisely, with purpose. Even the moments that felt forgotten were written into the rhythm of fulfillment. You have not been unseen. You have been prepared. There will come a day when you look back at this silence and call it sacred. You'll realize that what felt like unanswered prayer was actually the sound of heaven arranging your future. The waiting was never punishment. It was protection. Every not yet has been, My way of saying, I love you too much to let you settle for less than what I've promised. So breathe. Rest your questions. Let peace do what answers cannot. I've been here all along, not distant, not indifferent, but carefully constructing the moment where everything will make sense. What you've called silence has been a language of its own, a holy dialogue spoken not with words but with weight. I never stopped responding. I've been answering through process. Each delay has whispered something I wanted you to learn: endurance, perception, trust that doesn't collapse when the room goes quiet. There are answers that can only be received by a heart that has learned to rest inside uncertainty. That's what I've been teaching you, to breathe in stillness and find me there. You see, prayer isn't a transaction, it's a transformation. Every time you opened your mouth, you weren't just sending words upward, you were being reshaped. Your prayers built the space where my presence could dwell. And while you thought nothing was shifting, faith was being forged. You didn't see it, but heaven recorded every moment you refused to give up. The stillness was never a test to break you. It was a mirror to reveal what I've already placed within you. There are promises that need silence to grow roots. I had to draw you away from the noise of outcomes so you could begin to trust the unseen movement of my hand. While you waited, I was clearing paths, untangling knots you didn't know existed, and healing wounds that would have destroyed the blessing I'm about to release. The pause was protection. The wait was wisdom. I wasn't punishing your faith, I was deepening it. Sometimes you think I'm far because you can't feel me, but feelings were never meant to be your compass. Faith is. You have searched for signs in the sky, yet I have been writing answers inside your spirit. I've been teaching you to hear me in peace, to find me in the rhythm of your breath, to notice how my hand arranges coincidences so precise that they no longer look like chance, but design. Soon you will see why I held certain doors closed. What you thought was rejection was redirection. I was leading you away from temporary comfort toward lasting fulfillment. I don't withhold, I refine. And the delay that once felt like punishment will soon reveal itself as divine choreography. Every unanswered prayer has been preparing the ground where the right answer will take root. Not too soon, not too late, but right on time. You haven't failed in faith because you felt tired. The trembling didn't cancel your belief. It proved you still cared enough to stay. You've kept showing up with open hands, even when they felt empty. That's where miracles begin. In your persistence, I found partnership. In your surrender, I found room to work. So when you can't hear me, remember, I am still speaking, just in quieter tones. When you can't see me, know that I'm working in dimensions beyond your vision. And when you feel you've reached the end, that's usually where my beginnings unfold. Heaven has not been still, it's been strategic. Everything I promised still stands, and every prayer you've ever whispered is already woven into its fulfillment. This waiting isn't wasted. It's the sound of promise breathing before it's born. And you, though weary, are standing in the final stretch of its arrival. There comes a point when the light in your eyes dims, not because hope has died, but because the journey has demanded more than you ever thought you could give. You keep moving, yet each step feels heavier than the last. You've prayed until the words ran out, waited until the waiting itself became pain. It's in that fragile place between endurance and surrender that I begin to move most deeply. Even as your strength fades, I remain constant, not watching from afar, but holding every trembling piece of you together. I've seen the nights when courage felt like dust and your faith like a whisper. When you told yourself, I can't keep going, my grace quietly replied, then lean on me. You thought you were falling apart, but you were actually falling into my arms. The breaking you feared was never the end. It was the moment when dependence turned from theory into reality. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply breathes, I'm still here. The world celebrates speed, but I honor stillness. While you measure your progress in motion, I measure it in trust. Each pause, each tear, each time you rested instead of forcing, that was faith in its truest form. You imagined that resilience meant pushing harder, but I've been teaching you that real resilience is learning to rest without giving up. Every time your knees hit the ground, heaven marked it as victory. I know the frustration of feeling like you've done everything and still see no change. You've whispered, "Where are you?" And I've answered through endurance, through the fact that you are still standing. The unseen strength sustaining you isn't your own. It's mine, quietly breathing life into the cracks. I've been anchoring your heart, so the storm can't uproot it. You are stronger than you realize, not because you fought perfectly, but because you've refused to stop believing. The shaking you feel isn't punishment, it's recalibration. I'm aligning your heart with heaven's rhythm, stripping away the things that can't survive where you're headed. Every time something slipped through your hands, it was because I was removing what could not carry the weight of your next blessing. You have not been losing, you've been lightening. There's beauty in this exhaustion, sacred meaning in the ache. The moments when you feel most human are the very moments when my divinity wraps around you the tightest. I'm not asking you to rise on your own. I'm asking you to stay, breathe, and let my presence do the lifting. Even when you can't see progress, renewal is happening beneath the surface in a slow, deliberate, unstoppable. What you call weakness is actually the soil where new faith grows. What you call delay is the rhythm of restoration. And while you're learning to breathe again, I'm already preparing the moment when strength will return, not borrowed, but reborn. There's something sacred about the moments when you finally stop fighting the weight and simply let yourself rest. The battle doesn't end, but your posture changes. You begin to understand that what sustains you isn't your willpower, it's grace. I've never asked you to be the source of your own strength. I've asked you to be the vessel through which mine can flow. When you reach the end of yourself, you finally reach the beginning of me. I've been holding the fragments you thought were failures. Each one has a story, a purpose, a redemption waiting to unfold. You think you're too tired to go on, but even fatigue is part of the transformation. Like a seed pressing through the soil, you can't see the growth while it's happening, but that hidden pressure is what breaks open new life. Every sigh, every "I can't," has become the soil where endurance is being born. When you fell, I didn't stand above you, I knelt beside you. When your prayers lost words, I listened to the language of your heartbeat. When hope dimmed, I lit it again from within. Nothing about your weakness has shocked me. I designed strength to be found there. Even when you couldn't lift your own head, my hands have been beneath your chin, guiding your eyes upward, reminding you that no fall can erase your calling. You've mistaken your exhaustion for distance, but it's actually proximity, because I'm closest when you're quiet enough to need me. The breaking of your rhythm was the invitation into mine. Every pause has carried purpose. I've been teaching you to find me not in the rush of victory, but in the rhythm of recovery. There's beauty in not having all the answers. That's where revelation grows roots. There will come a moment when you realize that the strength you've been praying for didn't come back the same. It came back deeper. It won't depend on motivation or emotion. It will come from knowing who I am within you. You'll walk lighter, not because the storm ended, but because you learned who walks with you inside it. You'll speak differently, not with effort, but with quiet authority born from survival and grace. So breathe again. Let stillness wash over the noise. The story isn't paused. It's being rewritten in the dark, where endurance is forged. What once drained you will soon empower you, and what once felt like collapse will become the foundation of your confidence. The very hands that caught you are now lifting you toward the next season of purpose. The strength you thought you lost is returning, but this time it carries wisdom, calm, and unshakable faith. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt, stronger, quieter, and more certain than before. If this message renewed your strength today, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more words that awaken faith and restoration. Each act of connection helps this light reach someone who needs the same reminder. You are still being held. Fear has a voice that echoes louder in the dark. It tells you that you've been forgotten, that the silence means distance, that I've walked away while you were still in need. You felt it in the pit of your stomach, that quiet trembling when everything feels uncertain and your prayers seem too small to reach the sky. Yet the truth is simpler and stronger than your fear dares to imagine. I have never moved away from you. Even when the shadows grew long and you couldn't trace my hand, my presence wrapped itself around your heartbeat. The distance you feel is not absence, it's perception. Fear clouds the senses, but it cannot change reality. You are surrounded by me in ways the world cannot measure. The air you breathe carries my nearness. The stillness you dread is where my whisper lives. There are moments when I allow your comfort to shake so that your awareness of me can grow sharper. Not to punish you, but to pull you closer. I have walked with you through the very storms you thought would end you, placing light in places where no one else could see. The fear that once screamed now fades at the sound of truth. I am still here. When you were standing in the middle of chaos, thinking you had no one left to hold you, I was already beneath your steps, steadying your footing. Every trembling heartbeat, every sleepless night, every tear that fell without a witness, I caught it, I kept it, I answered it in ways you don't yet understand. You thought you were surviving alone, but it was my strength breathing through your weakness. Fear wants to convince you that distance defines reality, but love has already closed the space between us. You've never been out of reach. Even when doubt tried to drown your faith, I was standing in the same waters, teaching you to walk instead of sink. The storm you feared would swallow you has only revealed how close I've always been. I am not waiting at the finish line of your breakthrough. I am standing inside your process. Every step forward, every pause, every cry for help, I'm in all of it. You don't have to shout to reach me. Whisper if you must, or say nothing at all. My presence isn't triggered by sound, it's drawn to surrender. Fear will tell you that you've failed, that you're too far gone, that you've run out of grace. But I've already stepped beyond those lies. The distance fear describes no longer exists, because I erased it with love. I didn't promise you a life without shaking. I promised that in the shaking, you'd never be alone. So breathe again. Let peace rise through the cracks that fear tried to fill. The place where you feel most uncertain is often where I am most present. You're not lost, you're being found in the stillness you once feared. What feels like silence is actually my closeness. Quiet, constant, unbreakable. You've spent so much time trying to feel close to me, as if my nearness depends on emotion. Yet closeness has never been a sensation. It's a truth. It exists whether you feel it or not. When your heart races, when anxiety whispers that you've lost me, when you search for something to hold on to, remember this: you are already held. The absence you feel is not a void to cross. It's the space where faith learns to see. There were moments when you begged for a sign, something visible to silence your doubts. But signs can fade. What I want for you is awareness. I want you to know me not only in victory, but in quiet. Not only in the sunlight, but in the shadow. My nearness isn't earned through effort. It's revealed through trust. When you stop striving to find me, you begin to notice that I never left. Fear thrives on distance. It tells you that if you can't see me, I must not be there. But faith speaks differently. It learns to breathe in the dark, to find warmth in the chill of uncertainty. Every time fear tried to take your peace, it only proved that peace was already within you. Because my presence doesn't come and go with emotion. It remains like the steady pulse beneath your ribs, unseen but undeniable. There is a quiet power that rises when you stop running from fear and turn toward it with faith. You begin to realize it was never the storm that threatened you. It was the lie that you were alone in it. And the moment that truth enters, fear begins to lose its language. You stop asking, Jace, where are you? And start whispering, yea, you're here. Every time your mind rushes ahead, worrying about tomorrow, I'm already there waiting, not distant, Jace, but woven into your future. Every time your heart trembles under the weight of what-ifs, I speak through stillness. You are safe. You may not understand how things will work out, but my nearness is not tied to outcomes. It is constant, like light that refuses to vanish even when clouds hide the sky. Let go of the need to feel in control. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. The chaos outside doesn't define the security within. I am the still point in the turning world, the calm inside your storm. You can rest here, not because everything is resolved, but because I am unmovable. Even the fear that once ruled you is becoming a place of encounter. You'll look back one day and see that the nights you thought I was far were the nights I carried you through unseen dangers, guided you past invisible cliffs, and whispered truth beneath the roar of anxiety. What once terrified you, has now become testimony. So stop searching for distance between us. There isn't any. The air around you, the beat of your pulse, the spark of hope that refuses to die, all of it sings the same truth. I am here. I have always been here. My nearness isn't measured by emotion but by existence, and you exist within me. That is the peace fear can't touch, and that is where you will remain. There are moments when you stand before what looks like a locked door. You've prayed, prepared, and knocked, but the handle won't turn. The silence of that barrier feels heavier than the waiting itself. You start to wonder if I've changed my mind, if perhaps what you believed was a promise was only a dream. But listen, the door isn't closed. It's guarded by time. You see, timing is one of the languages of heaven. What you call delay, I call design. I've seen the places where you've tried to force things open out of desperation, not because you lacked faith, but because you were tired of standing still. Yet every time I withheld access, it wasn't to deny you. It was to protect what would collapse if reached too soon. Some promises need maturity, not movement. I know how much you've questioned the silence on the other side. You've watched others walk through doors while yours stayed still, and your heart began to ache under the weight of comparison. But every path carries its own pace. The rhythm of your destiny can't be measured against anyone else's journey. When I said the promise is yours, I also meant the timing would be too, carved precisely for your becoming. There are blessings that require alignment. You can't see it, but while you've been waiting, I've been aligning details that would have been out of order if I'd opened the way earlier. I've been softening hearts, shaping opportunities, preparing favor to meet you instead of pass you by. You think nothing is happening because you can't hear the gears turning, but heaven's machinery moves quietly. Do you remember the last time something came too soon and didn't last? That's why I slow you now. A premature blessing can weigh more than a delayed one. I'm not keeping you from the promise. I'm keeping the promise from breaking under the pressure of unprepared hands. Each closed door has been a rehearsal in trust, a chance to learn patience not as punishment, but as partnership with my purpose. I don't waste preparation. Every delay has been shaping your character to match your calling. You've learned to listen longer, to trust deeper, to hold on to peace when nothing around you makes sense. That's not stagnation. That's strength being built in silence. You've been stretched, refined, purified, not because I'm far away, but because I'm close enough to see what needs to be strengthened before I open what's next. The door still belongs to you. The promise still carries your name. You haven't missed your moment. You're being synchronized with it. When the timing aligns, the door that resisted will swing open without force, not because of effort, but because of readiness. The delay isn't the end of the story. It's the proof that the story is divine. So stand before that door again, not in frustration, but in faith. It's not a wall, it's a threshold waiting for the perfect moment. What feels withheld is being refined. What feels delayed is being designed. The door isn't closed. It's simply waiting for the hour heaven has already written. There are seasons when heaven seems to hold its breath, moments when you stand before the same closed door again and again, wondering if this time it will move. You whisper prayers that sound smaller each day, and you start to think maybe the silence means the story has ended, but it hasn't. The story is still unfolding, just in the quiet chapters where I do my most careful work. What looks like delay is actually choreography. I've been arranging scenes behind that closed door, adjusting timing, softening hearts, healing wounds that would have broken the promise if it came too soon. The silence you hear is the sound of me aligning details too intricate for you to see. You've mistaken stillness for stagnation, but there's a difference. Stagnation stops. Stillness prepares. I know the weight of waiting, how heavy it feels to hold faith in one hand and uncertainty in the other. But every time you chose to believe anyway, you built strength inside your spirit. You learned that trust is not proven by open doors, but by endurance when they stay closed. You discovered that peace doesn't come from answers, it comes from alignment with my timing. The closed door didn't block your purpose, it preserved it. When you think about what could have been, remember, I saw what you couldn't. I saw the opportunities that looked perfect on the surface but carried fractures beneath. I saw how the wrong timing would have drained what I meant to multiply. I saw how success too soon would have silenced the lessons that now anchor your soul. So I closed the door, not to punish you, but to protect everything you've prayed for. You've been walking through what feels like still air, but even that quiet space has been sacred. Each waiting season is an invitation to deepen, to strengthen the roots of your patience so your promise can stand strong when it finally blooms. I haven't been absent. I've been preparing the moment when what you've prayed for meets what you've become. The truth is, some blessings aren't late. They're layered. They require more than a single yes. They need character, endurance, and peace to hold them. And that's what I've been building in you. I've been teaching you to stop measuring progress by movement and start recognizing it by peace. Because when peace comes first, the right doors open effortlessly. I know you've watched others walk through their openings while yours stayed shut, and it's made you wonder if you missed your moment. But destiny doesn't operate on comparison. Your timing was written separately, carved by my hand, refined by my love. What I've planned for you will not be stolen, delayed, or diminished. Your door isn't late, it's reserved. When the time comes, you won't have to knock twice. The same door that resisted you will open with ease, and you'll realize why it had to wait, and because it was never just about what you were stepping into, but about who you were becoming. The waiting didn't take something from you. It gave you substance. It carved your endurance, refined your discernment, and tuned your spirit to my voice. So don't curse the closed door. Stand before it with reverence, because it's not denying you. It's protecting you until heaven says now. When the alignment is complete, what felt impossible will happen so naturally you'll forget what waiting felt like. And when it does, you'll know. Every pause, every tear, every unanswered prayer was part of the timing that made it beautiful. The door was never closed. It was simply waiting for you to be ready. If this word resonated with your heart, share in the comments how you're choosing to trust the timing of God. Your story might awaken peace in someone who's still standing before their own waiting door. There was a night long ago when a young boy named Samuel lay down to rest, unaware that heaven was about to break its silence. The world around him was quiet, the lamps burning low, the air still, no voice, no thunder, no sign. Yet in that ordinary stillness, I called his name once, twice, again. Not through fire or wind, but through whisper. Because I have never needed noise to make my presence known. Only a heart that listens. That same whisper moves even now. You keep looking for me in the dramatic, in the lightning, the sudden miracle, the loud confirmation. Yet I've been speaking in the soft things you overlook. The thought that steadies you when anxiety rises, the peace that visits you without reason, the word that repeats gently in your mind when you're about to give up. These are not coincidences, they're echoes of my voice. Samuel didn't recognize me at first. He mistook my voice for another's, just as you've often mistaken my silence for absence. But I wasn't distant. I was teaching him how to discern, how to listen without panic. You too are learning to hear me in new ways. Not by volume, but by nearness. I'm not training your ears, I'm training your awareness. The quiet answer has always been the most powerful. You've asked for clear signs, but I've been forming sensitivity, because what I whisper must be caught, not forced. There are things I can only tell you when the world's noise fades, when your heart grows still enough to feel instead of demand. That's why I've led you into seasons that look like silence, not to confuse you, but to condition you for clarity. When the world is loud, my direction can get lost in the echo of your fears. But when stillness comes, everything false falls quiet, and what remains is truth. You begin to notice me in the rhythm of your breathing, in the warmth of unseen assurance, in the pattern of peace that interrupts your worry. That's me. That's how I've always spoken to those I love, softly enough to be missed by the distracted, but clear enough for those who stay. Samuel learned that my voice doesn't compete for attention. It waits to be welcomed. It doesn't shout above your chaos. It settles beneath it. It doesn't demand that you do more, as it reminds you that I already am more than enough. The quiet answer doesn't come to rush you. It comes to realign you. Every time you pause and breathe through the weight of uncertainty, you're standing in the same kind of holy silence where Samuel stood. And though your surroundings may not glow with light or tremble with sound, my presence is no less real. The lamp is still burning. The call is still coming. So when you feel nothing, hear nothing, sense nothing, don't assume I'm gone. The absence of noise is not the absence of me. It's the space where recognition is reborn. For I am the God who speaks in stillness, and those who wait quietly will hear what the world cannot. Samuel's story is yours too. The quiet answer is already near. When Samuel finally understood that it was my voice calling, he didn't respond with certainty. He responded with surrender. Speak, for your servant is listening. That moment changed everything. Not because the room filled with light or the ground shook beneath him, but because a human heart finally became still enough to receive. The power wasn't in the sound, it was in the willingness to hear. That's where revelation always begins, not in control, but in consent. I've been calling to you in the same way, not through thunder, but through tenderness. You've asked for signs that shake the earth, but the greatest answers come wrapped in quiet peace. The strength of my presence doesn't need spectacle to prove itself. It carries authority and stillness. What I whisper into the silence often carries more weight than what I could shout into the storm. Samuel's awakening didn't happen because the world changed. It happened because his awareness did. The same light that glowed over his lamp now glows over you. The same voice that broke his silence still moves through the spaces where you wait. The quiet answer comes not to end the waiting, but to fill it with meaning. It reminds you that hearing is not about volume, it's about trust. You keep looking for answers outside when the conversation has already begun inside. My spirit doesn't speak from afar. It resonates within your thoughts, shaping peace where confusion used to dwell. Sometimes, what you call intuition is actually revelation. What feels like a gentle knowing is the echo of my direction. You don't need to chase the voice. You need only to quiet the noise around it. I know how hard it is to trust something you can't measure. You've learned to believe in the visible, to rely on proof, but the unseen world is where I do my finest work. Samuel didn't see me, yet he carried my word with power. You too have been chosen to carry messages not born from volume, but from communion. The quiet answer I give you is not less real than the miracles you seek. It's the seed that creates them. Sometimes the whisper feels too soft to trust. You ask, is that really you? And I respond with patience, repeating peace until fear runs out of arguments. I don't rush you into confidence. I guide you there through recognition. Each time you respond with stillness instead of panic, your spirit becomes more fluent in my language. The quiet answer grows louder only in hearts that stop striving to hear and simply start believing they're already being spoken to. There's a reason I don't always speak loudly, because noise fades, but revelation lingers. I don't want to overwhelm you. I want to transform you. The world teaches you to chase signs. I teach you to rest in certainty. Even when words don't come, my presence speaks louder than explanation. Every quiet moment you spend in trust becomes a conversation between your soul and eternity. So when you lie awake in the quiet, wondering if I'm still near, remember Samuel. Remember that the same voice that called him in the dark is the same one whispering peace through your uncertainty. You don't have to wait for thunder to know I've spoken. You only have to notice the stillness that follows. That stillness is me, steady, sure, and closer than sound. The quiet answer isn't what follows the silence. It's what the silence has been carrying all along. There are things you've tried to hold together with trembling hands, pieces of a life that keep slipping through your fingers. You've spoken every prayer you know, tried every path that made sense, yet still it feels like something remains undone. The weight of what you can't control has become heavier than what you can. But even here, even in what feels unfixable, heaven is not still. You see chaos, but I see composition. While you stare at broken fragments, I'm weaving connection between them, quiet threads of grace that move where your sight cannot reach. What you call failure, I call formation. I've been arranging what you thought was lost, orchestrating details that your human strength could never synchronize. Nothing you've surrendered to me has fallen apart. It's been falling into place. You've spent nights asking, how do I fix this? Not realizing that some things were never meant to be fixed, only handed over. There are battles you weren't designed to fight, weights you were never meant to lift. I don't ask you to carry what breaks you. I ask you to trust what heals you. When your control ends, my creativity begins. You've reached the edge of your ability, so you can witness the reach of mine. I've heard the questions that ache beneath your prayers. Why hasn't it changed? Why can't I make it right? Because sometimes the healing isn't in resolution, but in revelation, seeing that what seems delayed is actually being arranged. You've been so focused on results that you've missed the rhythm of my response. Heaven doesn't rush because heaven doesn't fail. I'm aligning hearts, restoring order, shifting timelines in ways that feel invisible now but will make perfect sense later. You don't see the invisible chain of mercy that connects every event, every meeting, every closed door and sudden turn. It's all part of the melody I've been composing in your story. What you call interruption, I call introduction, the beginning of what truly matters. There are prayers that must mature through patience, answers that must bloom in the soil of surrender. You've learned to act. Now you're learning to allow, to stop fixing what was never broken in my eyes, to let me heal what your hands could only hold. I don't need your strategy. I need your stillness. Trust doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means knowing I'm working even when nothing looks like it. I'm not ignoring the mess. I'm reordering it. Every delay has direction. Every silence has structure. Every disappointment has been quietly preparing a doorway. You may not see it yet, but heaven has been building behind the scenes of your surrender. You've said, I can't fix this, and I've whispered, you were never meant to. What breaks your heart doesn't break my plan. What you call the end, I call the intersection. I am arranging what you cannot repair, not as a rescuer who arrives late, but as a father who was working all along. Nothing is falling apart, it's falling into alignment. You've spent so much energy trying to understand why certain things broke, why some people left, why doors closed that you swore were meant to stay open. It felt like loss after loss, like threads unraveling faster than you could tie them back together. But what looked like unraveling was actually weaving, heaven pulling threads out of your grip, only to weave them into a greater design. You saw chaos. I saw construction. When I move, I often begin by undoing. It confuses you because you mistake motion for loss, but in truth, I'm making space. I can't feel hands that refuse to release. The moment you loosened your grip, you gave me room to create what your effort never could. You thought you failed because you couldn't fix it, but some things were never meant to return to the way they were. I'm not rebuilding what broke. I'm building something entirely new from the fragments you surrendered. You ask, why didn't you stop it? Because sometimes I don't stop the storm and I redirect it. I allow what shakes to fall so that what's eternal can stand. You don't realize yet that what you lost was never foundation. It was scaffolding, temporary support for something greater that's now rising in its place. Heaven is a master of alignment. While you've been grieving what ended, I've been setting new beginnings in motion. The people who drifted away, the opportunities that slipped out of reach, the moments that didn't go as planned. None of it escaped my control. I've turned every detour into design, every disappointment into direction. The same pain that made you question me will soon become the testimony that confirms I never left. What you can't fix, I'm finishing. What you can't control, I'm commanding. Even now, invisible threads of purpose are connecting what seems broken. I'm not asking you to make sense of it. I'm asking you to trust the symmetry you can't yet see. Faith doesn't always explain. It endures until understanding arrives. And when it does, you'll realize how carefully I've been weaving meaning into every unplanned moment. There are angels working on your behalf, not in spectacle, but in sequence. You don't need to witness the machinery of heaven to know it's moving. The proof will come in peace. When what once overwhelmed you begins to rest quietly in your heart, that will be your sign that the unseen has aligned. You won't have to force clarity. It will unfold naturally, like dawn after a long night. I know it's hard to release what you've invested in. You think letting go means losing control, but it actually means returning it to me. I've been asking for your surrender, not your strategy. When you hand me what's beyond your reach, I turn impossibility into order. You'll soon see that what looked like endings were entrances, doors hidden inside detours, leading you exactly where you belong. So rest your hands, lay down the need to fix, Heaven has heard the prayers you can't articulate, and the answers are already forming around you. My arrangement never fails, and my timing never misses. Even when it looks like nothing is moving, everything is. You are standing in the middle of a divine arrangement, one that will make sense when you no longer need it to. There was a night when Grace Miller sat alone in her apartment, the shadows long and the city quiet around her. She had prayed relentlessly, spoken the words over and over, yet the answer seemed to linger just beyond her reach. Doubt crept in slowly, whispering that maybe her prayers had gone unheard, that perhaps God had forgotten her. But the truth was different. Heaven had already begun moving long before she realized it. I was there in that stillness. Every tear she shed was caught, every trembling sigh reached my ear. And though she could not see me at work, I was arranging circumstances with precision, small invisible alignments that would later reveal themselves as the unfolding of her prayers. What felt like silence was preparation, a quiet orchestration beyond human sight. Her impatience was natural. She wanted to understand, to control, to see movement. Yet I was teaching her patience not as punishment, but as partnership. Faith grows most when it is quieted, stretched beyond comfort, and made to wait for my timing. Grace Miller's waiting was not wasted. It was the womb where her hope matured into strength. She reflected on the nights when her heart felt empty, when the world seemed indifferent. Each moment of longing was teaching her endurance, revealing the depth of her trust. The tears weren't signs of weakness, they were markers of intimacy. Her persistence in the unseen was shaping her to receive not just what she had asked for, but the fullness of my design. In that darkness, she began noticing subtle signs, doors that opened without explanation, encouragements in unexpected messages, small nudges that kept her moving forward. I was speaking through these unnoticed moments, guiding her steps without alarm or spectacle. The invisible work of heaven was far more powerful than the visible chaos she feared. Grace Miller learned in that silent night that waiting does not equal absence. Answers are often prepared while faith is being refined. She began to understand that her role was not to force outcomes, but to remain present, open, and attentive to my movement. What she thought was a delay was actually a deliberate alignment, a gentle hand guiding her to the right place, at the right moment, with the right heart. And so, even when the world offered no proof, her spirit grew rooted in the quiet certainty of my presence. The night, though long, became a sanctuary of preparation. What she could not fix, I was arranging. What seemed unreachable was already moving toward her in ways she could not yet perceive. The stillness of that hour was alive with my purpose, and it was shaping the next steps of her journey. Every person who waits feels the strain of uncertainty, yet the faithful heart begins to sense the invisible orchestration at work. Grace Miller's story mirrors yours. The night may feel endless, but every prayer, every sigh, every moment of silent hope is a thread being woven into a promise that will one day rise in fullness. Her waiting was not forgotten, her faith was not in vain, and her moment was coming and already in motion, beyond what eyes could see. As the night stretched on, Grace Miller began to sense a subtle shift. It wasn't loud, dramatic, or unmistakable. It was gentle, like a breeze brushing against her spirit. A whisper of peace, a soft assurance that what she had prayed for was not lost, but moving. She realized that waiting doesn't mean nothing is happening. It often means something is being prepared beyond her vision, out of reach of her timing, yet perfectly aligned with my plan. In that stillness, she reflected on the lessons hidden in the waiting. Patience was not simply the absence of frustration, it was the cultivation of trust. Every moment she felt uncertain became a step toward understanding the depth of my care. She saw slowly that the unseen work of heaven was more precise than anything she could orchestrate herself. Every tear had been gathered, every sigh noted, every longing considered. What she thought was delay was actually my divine arrangement, moving invisibly through circumstances, hearts, and opportunities. She began noticing the small ways I was already answering, a word of encouragement that seemed ordinary, a coincidence that felt significant, doors opening in subtle, unexpected ways. These small alignments built a tapestry of preparation, guiding her closer to the moment when her prayers would meet their fulfillment. Every detail was intentional. Every pause had purpose. What she could not see was in perfect motion. The loneliness she felt was temporary, a shadow that highlighted my nearness. Even when she questioned whether she had been heard, I had been moving behind the scenes, shaping outcomes, protecting her from premature breakthroughs, and strengthening her heart for what was to come. She realized that faith isn't proven by immediate answers, but by steadfastness in the unseen. Even when hope seemed fragile, it had been silently growing stronger. Grace Miller's journey became a mirror for your own. The moments of doubt, the nights of quiet longing, the unanswered prayers, all of these are not failures, but invitations to trust me more deeply. They are the soil in which faith takes root, resilience grows, and discernment is formed. What seemed like silence was the heartbeat of heaven preparing the right moment, the perfect alignment, the unfolding of my promise. By the time dawn arrived, her spirit had shifted. The fear of emptiness had been replaced with quiet confidence. She understood that waiting is not stagnation, but a sacred space where the unseen is being made ready. The prayers she thought might never be answered were already in motion, moving closer, guided by precision, patience, and purpose. The night of waiting was not in vain. The heart that trusted quietly was not forgotten. Every prayer, every sigh, every act of faith was being gathered by heaven, ready to reveal the fullness of my promise in the perfect hour. There are times when the world feels paused, when the promise you've been holding on to seems stuck just out of reach. You measure time by what your eyes see, by the absence of immediate change, and your heart grows restless. But my perspective is not limited by what appears. What looks delayed is often in motion beyond your sight. Every moment of waiting is not wasted. It is preparing what will arrive fully formed, complete and unshakable. The delay does not mean failure, it means preparation. While you feel the passage of days, I am moving in ways invisible, lining up circumstances, opening hearts, and orchestrating events to match the fullness of what I promised. Your prayers are not lingering unanswered. They are being woven into the tapestry of timing only I can see. The unseen work is often the most powerful. You've been growing in quiet ways that cannot be measured by outcomes. Your patience has strengthened your spirit, your trust has anchored your soul, and your hope has become resilient. Even in moments of doubt, you have been forming readiness, the ability to receive the promise fully when it comes, without fear, without hesitation, without compromise. Do not be troubled by what hasn't arrived yet. The processes behind the scenes are precise. The waiting is strategic. Every setback, every delay, every unanswered prayer is shaping what will last. You are not late. The promise is not lost. The timing is perfect. And when the moment arrives, you will see how everything aligned exactly as it should. Even what feels slow or frustrating is part of the completion. What you cannot see is my hand arranging everything with precision. I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. Your faith is the bridge that connects the waiting with the fulfillment. Your journey has not been in vain. The promise is not forgotten. It has been moving toward you, quietly, carefully, without error, without rush. All that appears delayed is in my hands, completing itself with perfect timing. The moment you've been waiting for is closer than you think. What appears stalled is quietly moving, guided by my hand, aligning with precision you cannot yet perceive. You may have questioned whether your prayers were too small, your faith too fragile, or your hope too slow. Yet every pause has been preparing you, your heart, your spirit, your understanding, to receive the fullness of the promise without fear or doubt. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, know that I am orchestrating every detail. Every closed door, every moment of silence, every delay is part of a divine rhythm. Nothing is lost. What seems late is actually completing itself in ways you cannot yet see. Timing is sacred, and every step you have taken has been part of the alignment. Your perseverance has not gone unnoticed. Your faith has been shaping the space where the promise will land. When the answer comes, it will not feel rushed or sudden. It will feel right. You will recognize it because it has been prepared for you. and you alone. The waiting was not wasted. It was the refinement of your readiness. The fullness of what I've promised is already in motion. It moves through unseen pathways, guided by my authority, my wisdom, and my love. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. The unfolding of your promise will surpass what you imagined, and it will arrive at the perfect time. If this word strengthened your faith today, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more messages of hope and encouragement. Your engagement helps others find the same peace and assurance that you've received. Even now, unseen forces are aligning on your behalf. What you think is delay is not absence. It is movement too subtle for your eyes to detect. Every step you have taken, every tear you've shed, every prayer whispered in silence is weaving into the orchestration of what is already coming. Your promise is not waiting, it is moving. It is being guided with precision, arranged with care, and prepared to meet you at exactly the right moment. You may have felt discouraged, as though the world was static and your efforts meaningless. Yet in the quiet spaces, I have been shaping outcomes. Doors you thought closed are being unlocked behind the scenes. People you feared would never arrive are being positioned precisely where they need to be. Opportunities that seemed impossible are quietly moving into alignment. What looks like delay is actually perfection in progress. Your heart has been tested, stretched, and refined, and each moment of endurance has been adding depth to your character. The weight you've carried, the waiting you've endured, and the patience you've practiced are all necessary steps. They are not punishment, they are preparation. When the moment of fulfillment arrives, it will not overwhelm you, it will complete you. You will recognize it, not just because it satisfies your desires, but because it resonates with the depth of transformation I have worked in you. Even when circumstances suggest the opposite, trust that I am moving. You cannot always see the intricate threads connecting your prayers, your faith, and your efforts, but every single detail is being carefully positioned. The process you perceive as slow is the rhythm of my timing, deliberate, precise, and perfect. Every delay has a purpose. Every pause is part of the unfolding. The promise has never stopped. It is advancing invisibly, steadily, unwaveringly. Do not allow your eyes or your emotions to deceive you. What appears still may be in motion beyond comprehension. The unseen currents of heaven are aligning with your life, preparing the exact sequence necessary for the promise to arrive whole, complete, and everlasting. You are closer than you think. The answer has already begun its journey to you. Even if your heart doubts, even if your mind questions, even if your spirit wavers, the work has already begun. The momentum cannot be reversed, the promise cannot be lost, and the timing will not fail. All the forces of heaven are engaged, and what seems invisible is alive, vibrant, and moving. You do not need to hurry it or force it. Your task is trust, your posture is faith, and your gaze is forward, toward the moment when everything you have waited for will meet you. You've walked through the silence, the waiting, the moments of doubt and uncertainty. You've seen the shadows of your fears, the heaviness of your burdens, and the stretches of time when hope seemed small. Yet through it all, one truth has remained constant. I have never left you. Every delay, every unanswered prayer, every door that seemed closed was part of a greater orchestration, a divine alignment designed not to frustrate you, but to prepare you, refine you, and position you for fullness. The promise you've been waiting for is not distant. It is moving toward you, carrying with it the perfection of timing, the depth of preparation, and the authority of my will. Now, as you reflect on this journey, I want you to feel something essential, the quiet power of my presence. It has been with you in every tear, in every sigh, in every moment you thought you were alone. Your perseverance has not been in vain, and your faith has never gone unnoticed. What once felt like waiting is now the foundation for your breakthrough. What once seemed invisible is now part of the architecture of your destiny. And as you embrace this truth, let your heart settle into peace. The peace that comes when you know I am arranging everything, even the details you cannot yet see. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to release all that you have tried to hold in your own strength. Let go of worry, doubt, and fear. Lean into me fully, knowing that I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. I am the one who holds time in my hands, who shapes every circumstance, and who prepares every heart for what is to come. Your faith is not measured by the speed of the answer, but by your willingness to trust through the wait. And now, as you open your heart, I invite you into a moment of stillness, a sacred space where we can connect, where you can receive my comfort, guidance, and blessing. Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, I thank you for your presence, for the unseen work you have done in my life, and for the promises that are moving toward me even now. Lord Jesus, I invite you to fill every space of doubt with your peace, every corner of my heart with your hope, and every moment of waiting with the certainty that you are working all things together for my good. Strengthen me in my weakness, guide me when I cannot see, and surround me with your love that never fails. Teach me to trust your timing, to rest in your presence, and to walk confidently into the blessings you have prepared. Let my faith rise, my courage strengthen, and my heart remain aligned with your will. Thank you, Jesus, for never leaving me, for holding me steady, and for bringing my promises toward me. Amen. And now, as your heart absorbs this truth, I want to invite you to continue walking with me. There is more waiting to inspire you, more revelation to awaken your faith, and more encouragement to remind you that every step matters. Click to watch the next video, and let my words guide you further, deeper into hope, stronger into trust, and closer to the promises that are already moving toward you.